Imagine Europe's energy veins suddenly turning into geopolitical fault lines. A court ruling in Warsaw has just redefined what it means to sabotage Russia's energy empire. By declaring that striking Russian infrastructure during wartime may count as an act of self-defense rather than sabotage, the Polish judiciary has set off shockwaves across the continent. On 17 October 2025, the Warsaw District Court rejected Germany's request to extradite Volodymyr Zhuravlov, a Ukrainian accused of involvement in the 2022 Nord Stream explosions. The court stated that such acts might be considered lawful combat actions if they took place in the context of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The judge contended that blowing up critical infrastructure during a defensive war is not sabotage, but a military act, according to AP News. Polish Deputy Prime Minister Radosław Sikorski defended the decision, describing the attack on Russian pipelines as a form of self-defense, while German prosecutors characterized it as a major setback. According to Reuters and Euronews, the wider meaning is that actions that target Russia's export pipelines, which are essential to its war economy, may be justified legally. It is a stunning precedent with consequences that ripple far beyond the Baltic Sea, because Russia's energy arteries stretch across Eastern Europe, right into the heart of Hungary.
Often labeled as pro-Russia, Orban sharply criticized the European Union in his speech.
Brussels decided to go to war. Pro-war countries have already formed the war alliance. With distinctive elegance, they call it a coalition of the willing. They are willing to send others to die.
Frequently going against the bloc, Viktor Orban regularly uses Hungary's veto to prevent negotiations that would allow for Ukraine's entry into the EU, as well as opposing the delivery of weapons to Kyiv or the introduction of sanctions on Moscow, and refuses to stop buying Russian gas.
Hungary's situation is uniquely sensitive. The country remains heavily reliant on Russian crude transported through the Druzhba, or Friendship, pipeline, which snakes from Belarus through Ukraine into Slovakia and Hungary. When Ukrainian drone strikes in August 2025 damaged parts of the network in Russia's Bryansk region, oil flows to Hungary were temporarily halted. The interruption was confirmed by Hungarian Foreign Minister Pavel Szijjártó, who described it as an unacceptable attack on Hungary's energy security, according to Reuters. In response, Prime Minister Viktor Orban, long considered Moscow's closest ally in the EU, emphasized that there is no substitute for Russian oil. However, according to Euronews, the European Commission has proposed substitutes, such as the Adria pipeline via Croatia, which may completely replace Hungary's need for Russian oil. In spite of this, Orban's administration nevertheless spends billions of dollars a year on Russian fuel, which indirectly supports Moscow's military apparatus. His assertion that Hungary has no choice because it is landlocked has come under increasing scrutiny as NATO and the EU put more pressure on other members to lessen their reliance on Russian energy. The Polish court's ruling deepens Orban's dilemma. If attacks on Russian pipelines are legally protected, the infrastructure sustaining Hungary's oil imports is suddenly exposed to both geopolitical and legal risk.
Turkey and Slovakia that continue to buy Russian oil and gas will come up with a plan and execute a plan that weans them off of Russian oil and gas. And, Hungary, unlike many of their neighbors, has not made any plans or made any active steps. And so we're going to continue to work with them, and we're going to continue to work with their neighbors like Croatia and other countries that can help them wean themselves off. And, obviously that pipeline is most likely to be shut off in the coming years as well. And so there's a lot of planning that our friends in Hungary should do, and we're going to help them, obviously, as a good ally, make those plans and execute them to get them off of Russian oil and gas.
This legal and energy drama plays out against a volatile domestic backdrop. Inside Hungary, frustration over corruption, inflation, and Orban's pro-Kremlin tilt has spilled into the streets. Opposition figure Péter Magyar, a former insider-turned-government critic, has emerged as a symbol of discontent. Smaller demonstrations have attracted thousands of people yelling, "Russians go home," mimicking the revolutionary spirit of 1956, when Hungarians rebelled against Soviet rule. However, estimates of hundreds of thousands of protesters in Budapest are yet unverified. The memory of that rebellion is still powerful politically, according to AP News, and it also raises a moral question. Has Orban betrayed the legacy of Hungary's struggle for freedom by supporting Moscow? In the meantime, political and financial pressure is being increased by the US and the EU. Hungary faces the possibility of further fines or exclusion from EU energy diversification grants if it continues to import from Russia. The Polish ruling, widely covered by The Guardian and Politico Europe, adds urgency, signaling that Russia's export networks are no longer sacred and could even be targeted again under the banner of legitimate defense. For Orban, that means the chaos may not be confined to the courtroom or the battlefield. It may reach into Hungary's own economy. The pipeline that once symbolized friendship could soon become the symbol of his isolation.